Hello, my name is Juliette Bezold, and I'm here today to give you some tips and tricks on how to work the Breathtaking Brioche Cowl from Red Heart Yarns. You see the sample here. It's made with 2 colors of Red Heart Unforgettable, Sugarcane, which is color A, and Cappuccino, which is color B. And you can download the pattern from redheart.com. Now, this pattern is worked in Tunisian crochet in the round spiral technique. Now, if you've never worked Tunisian crochet before, I recommend that you follow some basic videos and become familiar with the foundation row, Tunisian simple stitch, and how to cast off your work. Now, as I said, this is worked in the round. So it's continuous, front and back, no seams, nothing to do when you're done except weave in your ends. Now you'll notice that these stitches seem to make little pairs, and here they're pointing up so they look like knit stitches. But as you work, you're actually working like this. This is the beginning edge, and when you work, the stitches seem to be pointing together like little carrots or little trees. And these are pairs of Tunisian simple stitch and Tunisian twisted stitch, which together make the rib stitch. So let's look at a real sample. I have begun here a little sample of just 2 repeats so that you can get the idea. I have worked rows 1 and 2. I'm using an orange marker for my round marker and a green marker for my pattern repeat. Now, to begin working Tunisian in the round, you work a foundation row like any other Tunisian foundation row, except you're using one color for your forward pass and a separate color for your return pass. And then you bring that foundation row together to begin working in the round. So this was my foundation row. You can see here was the end of it. And then I completed round 2, which is these rib stitch pairs of a simple stitch and a twisted simple stitch. And if you're not quite sure how to work those, fear not, I will show you in just one moment. But here we are about to begin round 3, working my last stitch of round 2 here. It slipped off the hook. So to begin round 3, we're going to start with a decrease, a simple stitch 2 together. So I'll slide my hook under the first and the second stitches. I'll yarn over and draw up a loop through those 2. So that's a decrease. Then I'm going to work the next 3 rib stitch pairs together as rib stitch pairs. So in each pair, the first stitch is worked as a Tunisian simple stitch. So you insert your hook from right to left, yarn over and draw up a loop. The second stitch, the twisted stitch, to twist it, you need to insert your hook in the opposite direction from left to right. Or if you're a left-handed crocheter and you're making your simple stitches from left to right, you would need to insert it from right to left in the opposite direction. And right now you're probably thinking, how do I do that? My hook is pointed in one direction. I can't work the other way. The trick is you need to use your fingernail. So you want to place the hook to the side of that stitch, and using your fingernail, pop it over the hook, then yarn over and draw up a loop. And what that does, which you can see here, is twists that stitch in the opposite direction of a simple stitch. So the 2 stitches seem to be leaning towards each other like a little carrot or tree. So we do that 3 times. We make 3 pairs. Simple stitch, twisted stitch. Put my hook to the left. Using my fingernail, I pop it up over, yarn over and draw up a loop. There's another pair, then my 3rd pair, simple stitch, twisted simple stitch. Now we're to the increase. And this is a back bump increase. The return pass chain is like any standard crochet chain. It has the 2 legs that make a little V, and on the back it has the back bump. And you can find that back bump very easily because it's always running on top of your vertical bar. So you simply insert your hook in that bump on top of the vertical bar of the return pass and draw up a loop. Then you work your last 2 pairs as you've been doing. Simple stitch, twisted stitch, simple stitch, twisted stitch. Now I'm to my green marker for my next repeat, but I can't really work anymore. I need to turn and work my return pass. And so when you're working in the round, whenever your hook is full of stitches, or you can't work anymore because of the curvature of your piece, you turn around and work off your loops. Now I'm using a double-ended hook, so if I were working on the full-size cowl, I would put on a longer cable and be able to do more stitches before I had to turn to work. However, if you only have a short straight hook, that works equally well. You're just turning back and forth more often to work the return pass. And you want to stop doing that when you have 3 or 4 loops of your forward color. Turn, slide your stitches to the other end of the hook. Now we're ready to begin the second repeat of round 3. So again, the first pair we're going to decrease. So you insert the hook under 2 at once, yarn over, draw through them both. That's a decrease. Simple stitch 2 together. Then we work 3 pairs, simple stitch, twisted stitch, simple stitch, twisted stitch, simple stitch, twisted stitch. Now we're ready for that back bump increase. Again, where's the back bump? It's the return pass thread that's lying on top of our vertical bar. It's right here, lying on top of our vertical bar. So I insert my hook in there, draw up a loop. That's my increase. Then I work the last 2 pairs. Simple stitch, twisted stitch, simple stitch, twisted stitch, and I am to my round marker. Whoops, I split that thread, didn't I? There we go. Now I'm back to my round marker to begin round 4. And once again, I think I need to turn, slide my stitches to the other end of my hook, and work off some of the return pass loops. Now I have to say, I think the return pass is actually my favorite part of Tunisian crochet. I love the rhythm of it. I think it has just a beautiful, very relaxing rhythm when you're working a large piece and you've got a whole bunch of loops to work off. All right, then I'll turn, slide my stitches back to my other hook, and now I'm ready to begin row 4. So I'll move my round marker up so that I don't lose track of where my first stitch is. Now, like round 3, round 4 begins with a decrease. Simple stitch, 2 together, 1, 2, yarn over and draw up a loop. Now, because I always want to keep my pairs running up in rows, my next stitch is a twisted simple stitch. So I will work that as a twisted simple stitch. And what you can see we've done over these last 2 rows is reduced 1 pair, because here I decreased this pair in round 3, and then I just decreased these 2 stitches in round 4 to have a new pair here. And now I will work the next 2 pairs, simple stitch, twisted stitch, simple stitch, twisted stitch. Now I'm to my increase from the round before. So I'm going to work that as a simple stitch, but it doesn't have its pair, so I need to make another increase. So in my next stitch, I will work another back bump increase, and in the next row, then I will have 2 stitches to be another pair, and I'll work the last 2 pairs. Simple stitch, ribs, twisted stitch, simple stitch, twisted stitch. And once again, now I'm to my stitch marker, time to turn and work off those return pass loops. Where is my thread? Whoops, well look at that. I caught my return pass thread when I picked up a stitch. Let's pull him out of there and get that loop back. This is why I like Tunisian a little bit more than knitting. I do both knit and crochet, and to me Tunisian crochet is the best of both worlds, because if you drop a stitch, they're not going to go anywhere. They're not going to ladder down and run away from you. You can just slide them off your hook, fix what you need to fix, and slip them right back on. But yet you can create such beautiful, fluid, drapey fabrics like you can with knitting. So that's why I think Tunisian crochet is my favorite yarn craft of them all. And now we're ready for our next repeat of round 4. So again, we begin with a decrease. We go under 2 loops, yarn over, and drop a loop. And then the twisted stitch to make that a pair. And we work 2 pairs, simple stitch, twisted stitch, simple stitch, twisted stitch. And now we're to our single stitch that was our increase from the round before. So we work him as a simple stitch. Now we need to increase again so that he has a mate to make a pair. So here's my back bump. The horizontal thread lying over my vertical bar. I insert my hook in that, yarn over and drop a loop. Now I have a pair. Then I work the last 2 pairs, simple stitch, twisted stitch, simple stitch, twisted stitch, and once again I am back at my round marker. Now I forgot to move my green marker up here. I want to move him up to my loop there to mark my repeat. Again, there are 12 stitches or 6 pairs in each repeat. Now I have to confess I don't move my stitch markers up with every round. I tend to move them up every other round, which would be on round 3, because that's the place where it's harder to see where you need to make your increases and decreases, because right now I have all even pairs, and so if I didn't have that marker I might forget, oh, this is where the increase goes. So you do want to make sure you move them up. If not every round, I would recommend moving them up every other round. But really, that's it for this pattern. You simply keep repeating rounds 3 and 4 until your cowl is as tall as you want it to be. And if you want your cowl to be wider as opposed to just neck width, if you would like a long cowl that you could wrap twice around your neck, you could simply add more repeats. As I said, it's 12 stitches or 6 pairs in each repeat. And when you feel like your cowl is tall enough, you work one final round of just the rib stitch. You want to make sure you end on a round 4 so that you have even pairs, and then work one final round of rib stitch and then bind off in the rib stitch pattern, and you are all set. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. I look forward to seeing your finished cowls on Ravelry or elsewhere, and happy crocheting!